Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily. I'm Nicholas Richardson and this is the news. Day 264 of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is visiting liberated Kherson. The Russians have lost 40 soldiers and several armoured vehicles in the past 24 hours. Meanwhile, Ukrainian troops hit 4 Russian troop concentrations on the left bank of the Dnieper. Ukraine has reason to rejoice, but it is too early to celebrate.
I'm happy we are in Kherson, and so you see the reaction of the people. I think that is the answer. We are not preparing the reaction of the people. People waited for Ukrainian army, for our soldiers, for all of us. And so what can I say? Great day. Great job.
Authorities in liberated Kherson are asking residents not to gather in the centre, as the city may be mined. By order of the President, all possible measures have been taken today to repair power lines. We need to understand that all 4 lines used to supply electricity to Kherson have been destroyed. We hope that after demining the area, engineers will get to work. It is hoped that power will be restored in the near future. The search continues in Kherson for deserters and members of the Russian army who have not yet managed to cross the Dnieper River. The Ukrainian president has reported more than 400 crimes committed by Russians against the military and civilians. In the Kherson region, the Russian army showed the same barbarism as in other regions of our country. We will find and bring to justice any murderer. About this, I have no doubt. Every morning I would turn on the TV to find out if our forces had already liberated the city. It was terrifying. I kept hearing gunshots. The Ukrainian president's visit to Kherson has already received a reaction from the Kremlin. We will leave it without comment. You know that this is the territory of Russia. The war in Ukraine was the topic of Joe Biden's conversation with the Chinese president. According to experts, Russian troops in Kherson did not stand a chance against the Ukrainian army, hence the decision to flee. The Russian corps of about 20,000 soldiers on the right bank of the Dnieper River had a problem supplying the most necessary things for the battle. It was only a matter of time before they would be forced to either retreat or be surrounded. The opinions of the military, who said they would not be able to stop the Ukrainian offensive, clashed with the ambitions of politicians, who said Russia was winning, moving forward and being welcomed into Ukraine. On November the 11th, the street artist Banksy released a photo of his new work in the village of Borodyanka. Yesterday, the artist's new work was spotted by Kiev residents. Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki paid a visit to the military aviation works in Bydgoszcz, where American F-16 fighters will be serviced. Morawiecki emphasized that this is a huge success as the Polish defense industry has now joined the elite group that is able to boast of servicing American military aircraft.
War is always a tragedy, so the primary duty of those in power is to bring about such defense strength, the strength of our army to avoid war, and strengthening all of our armaments plants which carry out all kinds of work in cooperation with our allies is precisely a defense measure. Today, here in Bydgoszcz at the military aviation plants, I had the great pleasure of watching and learning how strong our cooperation is with the U.S. Army, with the U.S. Air Force. I can praise the aviation plants here in Bydgoszcz as one of the few of several in the world that will service F-16s. These are the fighters that are very high-tech combat aircraft, which we also have in Poland. But there are many such aircraft, and we will also service those that will be brought to us from other parts of the world. This is a great success for Polish armaments plants.
Earlier today, the United Kingdom and France signed an agreement worth €72.2 million over the coming years to ramp up efforts to stop illegal migrants from making perilous journeys across the English Channel. British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak said the new deal with France to tackle illegal migration across the Channel would make a difference, but the numbers making the perilous crossing would not go down overnight. The multi-year deal promises a 40% increase in the number of UK-funded officers patrolling French beaches in the coming months. Sunak made the comments as he arrived early today at the G20 summit in Bali.
I spoke to President Macron about it when I first spoke to him. I further met with him and we went over it in more detail, and I'm pleased that as a result of that dialogue, we now have a new deal with the French, which is going to mean 40% more patrols happening in France, and for the first time, our officials embedded in their operations. That is going to make a difference, and hopefully people can see that that's the fruits of the work that I've been talking about, but there's more to come, and people should know that.
My question was, can you guarantee that the numbers will fall next year?
No, I'm confident that we can get the numbers down, but I also want to be honest with people that it isn't a single thing that will magically solve this. We can't do it overnight, but people should be absolutely reassured that this is a top priority for me. I'm gripping it, and as I've said, in the time that I've been Prime Minister, you're already starting to see some progress with this deal with the French, but that's just a start. There's lots more that we need to do.
So far this year, more than 40,000 people have crossed the Channel in small boats, up from 28,526 last year, putting pressure on new Prime Minister Rishi Sunak and Interior and... So I'll do that paragraph again. So far this year, more than 40,000 people have crossed the Channel in small boats, up from 28,526 last year, putting pressure on the new British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak and Interior Minister Suella Braverman to do more to stem the flow. The British government said the multi-year deal would see a 40% increase in the number of UK-funded officers patrolling French beaches in the coming months. British officers will also be embedded in French-led control rooms and on the ground with their counterparts for the first time to improve coordination and information sharing. The agreement will strengthen security at ports by funding investment in surveillance technology, drones, detection dog teams, CCTV and helicopters to help detect and prevent crossings, as well as supporting reception and removal centres in France for migrants whose journeys to the UK are prevented. Chinese leader Xi Jinping and United States President Joe Biden met early today for long-awaited talks, as relations between their countries are at their lowest in decades, marred by disagreements over a host of issues from Taiwan to trade. The two men met on the Indonesian island of Bali ahead of the G20 summit tomorrow that is set to be fraught with tension over Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Biden and Xi shook hands in front of a row of Chinese and United States flags as they met at the luxury Hotel Mulia on the Nusa Dua Bay in Bali. Addressing the Chinese leader at the start of their roundtable discussions, Biden said communication between the two countries was key.
As the leaders of our two nations, we share responsibility, in my view, to show that China and the United States can manage our differences, prevent competition from becoming anything ever near conflict, and to find ways to work together on urgent global issues that require our mutual cooperation. And I believe this is critical for the sake of our two countries and the international community.
History is the best textbook, so we should take history as a mirror and let it guide the future. Currently, the China-US relationship is in such a situation that we all care a lot about it, because this is not the fundamental interests of our two countries and peoples, and is not what the international community expects from us. The world has come to a crossroads. Where to go from here? This is a question that is not only on our mind, but also on the mind of all countries. The world expects that China and the United States will properly handle the relationship. Our meeting has attracted the world's attention, so we need to work with all countries to bring in more hope to world peace, greater confidence to global stability, and strong impetus to common development. In our meeting today, I am ready to have, as we always did, a candid and in-depth exchange of views with you. They're expected to discuss Taiwan, Ukraine and North Korea's nuclear ambitions, issues that will also loom over the G20 meeting that is being held without Russian President Vladimir Putin in attendance. Biden and Xi, who have held 5 phone or video calls since Biden became president in January 2021, last met in person during the Obama administration when Biden was vice president. That's the news. Thank you for watching. Stay with us for the weather, Poland Daily Business and more programmes. But from me, it's have a good night and a better tomorrow.